Tasha Yar needs Lieutenant Worf's help with the Mishima wrist lock and break. Tasha Yar will defeat Science Officer Swenson easily, and Tasha Yar is favored to win the martial arts competition in the ship's pool. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and guess who? Tasha Yar, Denise Crosby.
Yeah.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, episode 22 of season 1, entitled Skin of Evil. You know that one. Story by Joseph Stefano, teleplay by Joseph Stefano and Hannah Louise Shear, directed by Joseph J. Scanlon. This was April 23rd, 1988. Very special thanks to Grandpa One for sponsoring this entire first season. Thank you, Grandpa One. And real quick, we mentioned Hannah Louise Shear. Denise, what is up with this picture right here? It's a picture of you and Hannah.
Hannah Louise Shear. Okay, this is crazy. So last Friday, I was joining the Writers Guild strike picket line in front of Paramount. And it was a kind of call to action for anyone and everyone involved in Star Trek. So a lot of actors, you were there, Cirroc, weren't you?
I did go.
Yeah, I missed
you too, but I did see the people that are out there.
I was looking. So, a lot of actors, a lot of writers, a lot of showrunners from all the Star Treks. Every single one was represented. So it was great. And so I'm walking, I stayed about 3 hours, just circling down Melrose to Bronson, back to Gower, walking. So I was just walking alone and I see a woman pose, sort of taking a pause on a bus bench. And as you can see on the strike sign, it says WGA on strike, but then it's a nice big space. You can write whatever you want. And they're writers, so they're getting really clever with some of the stuff they write.
Yeah.
So I read on her sign, I killed Tasha Yar. Beware AMTP, the board that is negotiating against the writers. Mm-hmm. So I killed Tasha Yar. I read this. I stop in my tracks and I said, I played Tasha Yar. And the woman jumps up and she goes, "It's Hannah Louise Shear." And I went, oh my God, what are the odds? So we're hugging each other and we haven't seen each other since the episode. And John Billingsley happened to be walking by and he goes, oh my God, I have to take a picture of this. Yes. So John took the pictures and sent them to me. And, it was just delightful to see her. And here's the interesting thing. She reminded me of something I said to her when we shot the episode. She said, I've never forgotten this. You said, if all of the episodes had been written this well in that speech that I give, in the hologram, the death speech, I said, if this had only been the level of writing, I never would have left the show. And she reminded me of that. And I said, wow. And I said, and you know what? It is true. It is exactly true.
I actually thought of the two of you when I thought of you when I saw that scene. I thought of like how it affected you, Denise, and Cirroc, since it's your first time even seeing or even knowing that scene existed. I was wondering how the two of you reacted to that because I thought it was really good. I remembered it vaguely, but I thought it was beautiful.
It was, what happens with me as an actor, when I can easily grasp the material and memorize it quickly, and it comes sort of flowing out of me, that's when the writing is good. When you're struggling to like glue it and stick it, memorize it and stuff, you're fighting. That take I did in one take, that speech. Now, it Joe Scanlon, the director, did something really smart, and that the camera came on me last. So we shot everybody's close up in that direction first. So I had all that time to say that speech over and over, because it was first, on Riker, and then Troy, and then, so each one of them had their own take, which was great, really, because smart. I couldn't get through it without tearing up the first time. I had I was saying goodbye, and it was so close to home, about the way I felt with each one of those people. It was like Hannah was channeling my inner being, writing that, because it was astounding how close it was to what what Denise would actually say to each one of those people saying goodbye. So it was really extraordinary. And, it was a very difficult scene to shoot, very, very difficult to shoot that, so by the time the camera came on me, I was composed. I could deliver it without, getting teary, which of course Tasha wouldn't have, she wouldn't be teary when she's making that.
That conversation you had with Hannah about, how you felt about the writing and how it would have convinced you maybe to stay if they were writing that good for you. And I think you've said that now as we've watched these last couple of episodes. I think the writing got better once you had the discussion that at some point when you wanted to leave and you made the announcement. Then they started writing really good for you.
Yeah, it's weird, huh? I was not aware of that until watching it, but it does seem that to be true. That seems to be true.
And like the last few episodes have gotten better and better as far as developing your character, including you on things, having you make decisions. It's like, why didn't you start off like this? And I would have had a better time. I wouldn't have to struggle so much with what do you want from me,
right?
But yeah, so when you watch this episode, one of the things that really jumped out at me was the scene between you and Worf in the beginning, where I felt camaraderie there that they never explored to this degree.
Exactly. You're right.
And the smile that you gave him when you said, oh, you bet on me, when you found out that he bet on you. And he says, a sure thing, I was thinking, this is what we love about Star Trek, is these kinds of, relationships. And I wish we could have gotten more of this conversation between Worf and Todd. That's your security team. That would be your closest person to, to have conversations with logically. So we should have seen a lot more of that. Throughout this year.
Yes. You could have just think of the opportunities, whether in the holodeck, whether we're training. Obviously, they've got to be training differently than anyone else on the ship. And the friendship or the romance, or wherever you want to take it, that builds out of this. She says in her final monologue, she says, Worf, you and I are so much alike. Well, you want to see that. You don't see any of that throughout the whole season. Just me saying it. You want to show, not tell.
Right.
So it. I know, you're right.
Yeah, and I did like that line. I wrote that line down as well. I love the way it was delivered. You actually went into detail about why you guys were alike. I think you said something to the effect of, we both grew up as orphans, but found each other as family, or something to that effect. And it's like, oh wow, you gave backstory on where you came from and how it molded you. You talked about Starfleet giving you hope and it being the outlet for you, the thing that kind of saved
Yeah,
you in some degree. You talked,
absolutely. Took this
you talked about a
angry.
father figure that Picard was to you, and how Riker treated you. I mean, so much stuff we could have. I would have loved to have
I know. I know.
earlier, and then we could, and then we could have,
Examples.
then we would have known this
That's
going
right.
along.
That's
Uh,
right.
how you guys feel about each other,
Right. Or even when Tasha talks to Troy and says, you taught me how to be, feminine and not
Mhm.
give up anything, not lose anything. Well, you never see us interact at all.
Exactly. I thought that was actually a beautiful line and a beautiful point and a beautiful perspective.
Right.
And I was like, would have been great if we'd seen that.
Right.
We would have, and
Exactly.
with you and Worf, I think, what makes Star Trek, one of the things that makes it so great are the interpersonal relationships. That's what we love so much. Those are the moments we remember more than any alien, more than any scientific breakthrough or whatever. And I think it suffered from having one or two too many, new character of the week kind of thing. You know what I mean? And if they took out a couple of those and had more interpersonal struggles, and then you can, see the dynamic of Worf and Tasha Yar, and you could have Geordi talking with Data a little bit more, start building those, would have given us a lot more by now.
I think that's a great point, Ryan. They did 26 episodes per season. So, they go and visit 18 alien planets out of the 26. And those remaining 8 episodes interspersed where it's all within that crew and those families on that ship. They don't, what do they do when they're not on the way to or landing on an away team mission, Absolutely.
Yeah, and because they didn't show us some of those things beforehand, it makes you wonder, like, oh well, I wish I knew all of that. Because when Troy was crying over over those words you were saying, I'm thinking, did I ever see them together in a scene? Like,
Yeah.
I was trying to think, how many scenes have I seen Tasha and Troy talking about anything other than you know, Shields Up or something like that. Nothing really deep.
No, never away, like grabbing a drink or having a meal or,
And we love that stuff. Star Trek fans love to see, like, they don't all have
I
to
would have
be
loved.
Alien of the Week.
I would, yeah. I would have loved if Yara was like, "Hey, so what's up with you and Riker? Like, I
Yeah,
don't get
right?
it. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't get it. Last week he was,
He was with
about to,
that woman and down on,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then Troy says,
Thesaurus
well, what's
3
up with you and Data?
yeah,
And
right.
then I did notice in your monologue
Yeah.
at the end, you're like, and Data, my friend. I was like, damn, he got friend zoned all the way till the end, man. She didn't even say my
I
special
know.
friend.
Well, you
I was
know
like,
what?
poor
I'll
Data.
tell you something about that scene. I threw in, they obviously didn't use it in the final cut, but when I addressed Data, I went, and Data, it did happen.
Oh, and they took that out.
They didn't.
Oh.
I asked, can I do it? I asked Rick Berman. He said, no. I did it anyway.
That would have been so cool because you did say in episode 2 or whatever it was, you said it never happened. And it would have been such a nice bow tie, a nice little bow on it to close it out.
That's why I did it. That's, because
this is the orgasm we're talking about?
The 3 speeds,
not the orgasm. We're not talking about the orgasm. Okay.
The naked now.
No, I know. I know what was.
Yes.
I'm playing. I knew what
it's happened. The android orgasm.
Yeah. That would have been great if they kept that. That was brilliant.
That would have been great. Yeah.
I know.
That would have been great.
I know.
Actually, that was one of my beefs with the episode, to be honest with you. I would have liked them to spend more time on Tasha and spending more time kind of mourning and going through that conversation. I enjoyed that conversation more than I enjoyed the whole other rest of the storyline.
Yep, I
Almost.
totally agree. And I haven't seen it in all this time, so I forgot. But yeah, it happens in the very end, her death, and then nothing till the end. Now they set it up that there's an urgency to get this crew, but it felt really odd to me that no one was dealing with that. No one's dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going
like somebody, one of the crew members that were like, let's get the hell out of here. There was no, the urgency was so, it was just weird. I couldn't find where the priority was. At some point, everybody was putting themselves at risk, even when the captain comes at the end. And I'm like, is it like, what are we risking everything for exactly? Is it because Troy's stuck in there? Like, can't we figure that out scientifically from the ship and figure out ways to figure that out from the ship? Do we have to actually put everybody's life in jeopardy?
Absolutely.
I thought that
made no sense, because that's ultimately what they did do. They did
for way too long of a period too. Like 40 minutes of the episode was this thing. You die relatively early in the episode, and the morning doesn't start till 20 minutes after.
Well, or
at least, or maybe even more, 30 minutes after of playing time. But I just didn't see. Like I said, this is how I would have wrote it. No knock on them. I know what they were, they're trying to accomplish. But the way I would have structured the episode, the writing, the topic was fine. The subject could have stayed the same. I would have just changed the focal point. Instead of it being so much about this thing, it kind of swamp thing type creature coming out of the oil, I would have had it been more about celebrating who Tasha Yar was to the crew. And then I would have had it kind of go down that way. So the bulk of the episode would have been the reminiscing on Tasha.
Absolutely. The effect, I agree. And I don't say that just, for my benefit. It really is an oddly structured episode. And this Armus thing gets very tiring. I think one more time coming out of that thing and that voice, and sometimes I couldn't understand what it was saying, and it was just not compelling.
It wasn't compelling and wasn't even logical. Like, this pure evil thing was having way too much of a rational discussion with Troy about its own evilness. And I don't, something that's that unhinged doesn't even spend the time to rationalize how unhinged it is. It's like a crazy person evaluating how crazy they are.
Yeah.
It's like, it just doesn't happen. You're crazy. You don't think about it. You don't say, I wonder where the origin of this craziness comes from. You just go around and break stuff. So I just didn't get that part. I didn't get the logic of the oily thing. And I would have liked to see this episode have other elements play out when it comes to Tasha Yar. I would have liked, for example, instead of Tasha having this hologram prepared speech to say to each person, I would have liked these things to have been in journal entries, private journal entries, and the captain having access to these private journal entries after she passed away, and sharing them with, bringing in people and saying, I think Tasha would like you to hear this. And it's a private thing more so, not like directly data. This is how I feel about you. More so like, reading her diary almost,
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. And even if you had the episode was about like flashback scenes interacting with each, like moments.
Oh, that's a fun
that
idea.
they would reflect on. Everybody could see the whole episode would be stacked up like that, so that this loving crew member, this emptiness without her, as they're stating at the end. You would see these moments of her, filling this space and having, this, why she will be so missed.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just, this immediate random death and then the hologram.
Thank you. And not only that, but I would use the fact that the impact of her death affected these people on the crew so much, Data and Riker and Troy, and we see how it moves them, that then this Armus skin of evil thing removes its skin of evil, like it actually becomes something else. And
they just left him there. I was like, oh no,
literally.
That's a surprise twist. I thought they would have pitied him in some way and said, oh, wow, you were created from these selfish titans. You were abandoned. Now you're bitter. We understand you suck, but we still have pity on you. Even Data said, no redeeming qualities. Like, damn, that's ruthless.
Right.
Yeah. So there was no solution to that, to the quote unquote A storyline. So why not have the impact of the loss of Yar make such impact that it makes Armus reflect on his own evil and maybe transforms or removes that thing that he's imprisoned in. Maybe that thing is a prison of some sort, and there's a normal human being underneath all of that oily slick stuff that has been trapped by this evil. There was no solution to that.
Right.
Yeah. They just said, we'll leave you here. They didn't even kill it or destroy it. It was just like,
they can't.
All right.
Yeah.
They're just like, all right, we got Troy. We're out of here. Good luck. And then they even said, we're going to make it off limits for the rest of the Federation. So nobody's going to go there to save him. They're not going to go see what they can do. They're just like, all right, we are never coming back here. So long, sucker.
For all eternity, that thing is going to be there.
Yeah, I would have liked more focal, more energy focused on Tasha. I think it could have been a full out Tasha episode. We could have had flashbacks, voiceover of her diary entries, just like a real kind of unraveling, an homage, and then we're like, oh wow, this person was so amazing, and everybody kind of remember on things, and because this oil character served its purpose once it killed you.
Yeah,
there was nothing left because there's no growth in that character. It's not going to learn a lesson.
Right, there was no mystery come to a resolution. Solved.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't learn a lesson. Didn't come to a negotiation. It didn't make a truce. There was no resolution. It was just like and it was really like they say random acts of kindness. It was random acts of violence because it didn't even have. It wasn't even sensical. Like it would kill somebody and brought Riker back. So if it had the power to do that, it had the power to do almost anything. It could have brought Tasha back. There wasn't even enough. It wasn't even enough negotiation to bring Tasha back.
Yeah,
right?
And how about like when Card beams in and then he dissolves right into the shuttlecraft? He has the power to do that. He's not even using a transporter.
Right.
I noticed that too.
What the hell is that thing? What just happened?
Magic. Well, you know what I put in my notes too was that he's super childish. Like it wasn't just like he's evil or scary, but he was like, "Who cares? Oh, your friends are here." But he acted like super childish, and I hadn't remembered that. Yeah. Well, actually, let's take a super quick break, everybody, where we're going to act childish for a few minutes. and then we'll come right back and be super adult.
Aren't we always?
We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Denise Crosby and Cirroc Lofton. We're talking about childish Armus and how somebody could have given him a talking to or healed him or gotten him to heal Tasha Yar or something. Could have done something there, I think. Oh, real quick, speaking of which, here are the trivioids of the week, everybody. They go a little something like this. Deanna Troi is returning from a conference on Shuttlecraft 13. The Enterprise is traveling on impulse power only. A martial arts competition is in 3 days. Tasha Yar needs Worf's help with the Mishima wrist lock and break. Tasha Yar will defeat Science Officer Swenson easily. That was fun. Tasha Yar is favored to win the martial arts competition in the ship's pool. Armus is super childish. Captain Picard taps on his table to shut people up. He was like, and they're like, oh, we better careful, everybody. Riker does his best Han Solo impression. I don't know if you guys, anybody noticed that Riker did his best Han Solo impression. Here it is real quick.
I didn't see it.
There he was, right there.
Oh,
like in the
okay,
Corbinite.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lastly, Lieutenant Commander Leland T. Lynch is now another new chief engineer. Was that like the 5th chief, right?
What's happening with these people?
They have like a revolving door. They've had like 5 chief engineers.
That must be a hard job on the Enterprise. You know, they just don't last. They chew them up.
Yeah.
Spit them out.
They're all just acting, temporary acting.
Yes.
You know, waiting to be replaced.
Yeah, there's some kind of hazard there that they just people are there for 2 weeks and they're like, nope, I'm out. You got to get a new person every week.
God. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So this whole little getup was quite the crazy stunt thing Armus did. Who played Armus? Do you have that?
Yes,
up?
actually,
yes. I want to know.
It was Mart McChesney played the body of Armus, and the voice was Ron Gans. And I wanted to I did want to point out that the actor, that is no easy feat. If you'll notice, there's no breathing tube. I mean, they might have had like a breathing tube that went down to the bottom and come out somewhere else.
No,
but that is like
this is totally illegal.
Yep.
There's no way you could pull that off today. He was in a full black rubber suit with that he could last 5 minutes in before there would be no more oxygen. And he was submerged completely on a hydraulic crane. So that, that thing is, some guy is off on the side, raising that hydraulic crane out of that goop. And he's literally been completely submerged with no breathing apparatus whatsoever.
And that's why I say major kudos to that actor, because there are very, very few of us that can pull that off. In theory, we go, oh yeah, sure, I'll hold my breath or something. But that actor, what must have been an incredible trooper, and was just like, yep, I can handle anything. Maybe like a Marine or something. I don't know, or a Navy SEAL.
No kidding. I remember having this conversation with somebody on set going, guys, I mean, this is a bit scary. What, you have a B plan? I mean, you have a way out of this? If that hydraulic crane doesn't, what if it didn't lift? I mean, it was, that was terrifying to me, this whole
that was a dangerous thing that they got away with at that time.
Absolutely. No question. You'd never be able to pull that off now. I mean, somebody would shut you down.
Do you remember if they shot like all of his stuff super quick? Because I kept thinking like they should just knock everything out as quickly as possible, but he was in every scene and even the reverse shots and all this. I was like, they're really using them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was all in one day. That stuff for sure. He didn't come. I mean, the guy probably ran away and left the business,
left Hollywood forever. Never mind. I want to be a mailman.
You know, geez.
He went into oil and gas.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff was, I don't know, it was like printer's ink mixed with, Caro syrup and I mean, all kinds of crap.
And Riker had it all over his bare face. So I thought it had to be only chocolate syrup or something, because can you imagine like just having your face completely covered on your eyeball? Like you're wiping your eyes, but that's still going to get in there.
I gotta ask him again when next time I see him, having, seen this again after all these years, like what in the hell? Did they have like a separate solution for your face?
Yeah, had to be.
I mean, I told you, when we did Encounter at Farpoint, they blew hot wax into my face for that ice, sequence. That's crazy stuff. Looney Tunes.
Yeah, I saw Riker in that scene. That was like, I just felt for him. I was like, oh God, I know that's so. Just even getting out of it. Yeah, even like after they cut and print, the whole just getting
out of
taking
that.
all of that stuff.
That's right. That's right.
The part I was like, oh God, no, he hated that.
Although I did notice that after Beverly wiped his face, she goes like this and kind of halfway clears him. But then when they pull away to a more establishing shot, if you look at him, his face was totally spotless. Like it was totally.
Oh, really?
Oh, like, because it was more of a far away shot. And it was like completely clean. And you can tell like a makeup person just kind of like went like this on his cheeks or something.
I'm sure he was like, get this.
He's like, that's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, when Armus kills Yar, and there's a stunt double that really takes the brunt of the fall. But I had to they opened up the seam of my costume and attached this wire, and a guy was hiding behind one of the rocks, and as he kills me, the guy jerks the wire really fast to whip me around, so that they could later play in. That was a nutty thing.
That's a stunt.
Yeah, they should have.
The stuff they got away with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they.
You could have literally dislocated your whole hip on that.
It was like, guys, hey, sir, can you like just not yank it so hard where I'm literally off the ground? I'll sell it for you, but just kind of give a tug.
They're like, Tasha Yar gets her shoulder dislocated here. So we have to really do it so that it looks good, okay? We don't, but we'll pop it back in when the scene's done. Don't worry.
I'm not really dying, am I, in this show?
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, I really felt like they should have done more for the Tasha scenes and extended that out a little bit. The Armus stuff, and then was Troy injured or something? Because she seemed immobile almost inside of that thing. Like I didn't see her walking around that space inside of there. She seemed almost just sitting there in one spot. And I'm thinking, did she break her leg, or is she like injured, or like, because I would be, trying to find a way out, seeing, moving around at least. When Picard comes inside and he sees that the guy's, that other guy, Ben, he called him, that was injured laying over the panel. He said he's still alive. We never heard about that guy either. Did they beam him out?
Well, they didn't seem to care about him too much.
Right?
Poor guy is like leaning, he looks dead.
Prop him up.
Lieutenant Prieto was his name.
And Picard doesn't even.
He's still alive, but the guy's.
And he leaves him there, crunched over the console.
He should have leaned on him and been like, well, anyway, just rest his health.
Yeah, well, he's alive now, but, not any soon to be dead if you leave him like that. God, that's ridiculous.
And I'm thinking, Troy, you're standing right there. You're not even administering any help to this guy. She seemed almost helpless, like frozen. Like I couldn't get that either. That part of it, like they had to explain to me that she was paralyzed, or if she moved, Armus would act crazy or something. I don't know. I didn't understand why she was just sitting there. I was thinking, well, the guy's right there. He's still alive. You didn't even talk to him and say, "You're right."
She at least crawled over to him, okay?
Yeah, right.
Crawled over to him.
She could sense that he was okay. She's like, he's fine. I'm just going to sit here for a while. My ankle hurts.
Wow. Remind me never to get in an accident with her.
Yeah.
Swollen.
God.
My heels are killing me. I can't walk 4 feet over there.
I think she didn't want to break a nail.
Actually,
I was like that.
Denise, here's something I wanted to ask you. Do you remember when you shot your funeral scene? Because I remember hearing a story, and I don't remember it terribly well, but that they shot that well after, because there was something to do with it not doing well, or it didn't work well. And so then they ended up shooting the scene later to give her more of an important death. Do you remember if there's any truth to that? If there was any separation between that?
No. Okay. Again, we shot. Remember, we still have another episode, Symbiosis, to shoot after this. So that was within the 7 days of whatever was ready. I think that Hannah Shearer is the one really responsible for that monologue, as I recall. That Joseph Stefano wrote the original story and wrote the screenplay, and I think she came in really for that monologue. I just remember it going down that way. I do remember that day all the crew had black armbands on.
Oh.
And we had a set wardrobe designer. Bill Tice was the designer, but we had a girl named Chacha Blevins, who brought me a little pillbox hat. So I wore this little pillbox hat with a veil. There's pictures of me somewhere. I don't have any with me in that veil with the little black hat, but it was on the day of the funeral. We were just trying to make it, somehow tolerable for such a, heavy day.
Mm-hmm. Don't see it online, sadly.
I'll try to dig it up somewhere.
Okay.
I might have a copy.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt a certain type of way when I saw Geordi on the floor looking for his visor when he was crawling.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, that scene did the best job of showing Armus's evilness, let's say.
Sadism and malice. Like, he was just
a
really shitty guy, man.
Yeah.
That's why they loved him.
Because, the banality of evil.
Yeah, that scene I felt really came across on screen for me emotionally, hitting the buttons that it was intended to hit, because there was a certain kind of, you see him crawling on the floor looking for his visor. Data's trying to help him, and then he realizes, if I try to help him, you're just going to make it worse anyway. So I thought that really kind of was a great, well written and well executed scene. Mm-hmm. It really conveyed emotionally for me as a viewer, like the kind of buttons that they were trying to hit were being hit on me. I was like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? I was like, what's your problem? It's like,
boy, this guy is a jerk.
Yeah, you're a real jerk, man.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I did get that. And actually, I thought Brent did a great job in general in this episode. He was one of the things that people that did a great, performance wise. I liked when he at the end says, Captain, I feel like, there will be an emptiness without her presence,
Mhm.
and I really felt that. I felt that line when he said it. And, and then I also loved when you talked about him having the wonder of a child, because I thought that really like perfectly describes Data.
Yeah. And she says, and that makes you more human than anything.
Yeah.
Right? What a
yeah.
beautiful, it was, I tell you, Hannah hit it, man, with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. When we talk about that, the wonder of a child, to go into things with the wonder of a child. When we're going to a new place or picking up a new hobby, kids will just embrace it, and adults will find every reason, to apologize for it or to say they're no good or they won't try. Kids will just jump in, and so it really was this. So many beautiful sentiments were shared in that.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad we couldn't see
that ending that Cirroc you mentioned was really nice when Data says, I'm confused. My thoughts are not for Natasha, but for myself. I keep thinking how empty it will be without her presence. Did I miss the point? To which Picard replies, no, you didn't, Data. You got it. I'm like, that's pretty freaking good, 1988. Way to go. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I talked about that recently, about funerals, and how when we attend a funeral, a lot of our feelings are about confronting our own mortality. It's almost like you're sad that somebody passed away, but you're also setting in a realization about how our own mortality is imminent, and you're almost sad for your own, ending last day in some way. So I felt like that was a little bit of, Data really showing his humanity. Loved how you talked about Picard being somebody that, you would want to be proud of you, he said, someone I would want to be proud of me, the soul of a poet. And I think that was another just accurate description of Picard. He is the type of person where you feel like you want to make him proud.
Absolutely.
That's one of the characteristics he embodies as a captain, right? You do your best and you hope that he says good job and gives you that pat on the back. That's what he embodies, and he's excellent at that. And I thought you did a great job of describing that to a T in that monologue. Also with the soul of the poet, because he's always going into this, even in this episode, he went into a little bit of poetry. He said, all spirits are enslaved that serve things evil, or something to that degree.
Yeah.
So it was just well written. It was well written and well delivered.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But again, she really hit the bullseye, I think, with this speech. I felt it in, on the day, and, having now seen it again, I really commend her. And the irony of running into her a week to the day that we're doing this episode.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, just uncanny. You got to think that there's other, spirits out there at work, because that just is, I've not seen her ever anywhere.
It's the magic of Armus, everybody. There was actually one other really magical Armus moment on Twitter. If you may recall, let me show you right now. Check this out. Do you see that?
Yes.
So this is on Twitter. Armus is saying, "You will never be rid of me," to you, Denise. And you quote tweet it. No, this was whatever it was, 2 years ago. I think this was September of 2021. So that was a fun one. But anyway, surprise! Look, everybody's here.
Wait a minute.
It's an Armus Day miracle.
Thank you.
God blesseth everyone.
Mostly, yeah.
So everybody wanted to pop in a little bit early to surprise you and tell you thank you so much for joining us.
That's so great.
Including Allison, who's in the freaking car right now.
I know. God, please be safe. Oh my God. Where are you driving right now?
Had to get my kid up, pick him up from school, so we're heading home. Be home in like 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody, it is now time for the home run of the week. So it's a tough one here. What do you think, Denise? Who gets the home run of the week today?
Well, come on now. I'm gonna go last.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and say what needs to be said. Denise, you get the home run. You can't give yourself a home run.
I had to die to finally get a hit. I finally got a hit.
Yes, you got the home run on this one. And like I said, I really love that scene with you and Worf in the beginning. I thought that just really set it up really well, because it made me like go up on a emotional kind of, oh wow, I love this moment, to, oh wow, she's dying in this episode. Like, so it set me up. Yeah.
I wish we could have seen the tournament.
Yeah.
Like delayed the death, just a little bit longer, because it's coming up, and just have that play out, because it always was great to see Tasha in those moments whenever I could get physical. And Jonathan Frakes and I had to study not jujitsu, not
judo.
karate, not judo,
Taekwondo, Aikido.
Aikido. We were studying Aikido twice a week. During our lunch break, we had an Aikido master come, and for whatever reason, only Frakes and I were called out to do it. Dorn didn't have to do it. I mean, I love doing it, but I would take Jonathan and flip him over, and it was really fun. But they wanted us to be able to sell that if called upon, that physicality, and but we never, it would have been fun to see that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Data said you flipped him over once.
Cirroc, Allison is driving. We got to be careful.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all right.
For children, for her children.
All
Okay,
right.
This is a family hour here.
Well, I'd like to say
No,
that
but I definitely think you got the home run, though. Yeah, back to that. I loved you in this episode, Denise, and that you were just fantastic. And that last monologue was just like a tearjerker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for me, we got two home runs. One is special shout out to the actor that played Armus physically, not the voice. The voice was fine, great, but that was a real trooper. That, like I said, it might have been like a Navy SEAL or somebody that could just hold his breath, or was fine with claustrophobia or anything like that. Big shout out to him. But of course, not to Tasha Yar, but to Denise Crosby for really nailing her monologue and giving us all weepy tears and making us all think, damn, why wasn't the entire first season this good? So big grand slam for you, Denise. What do you say? Do you have a different answer?
No. I mean, look, that monologue was, we've talked about it in the episode. It was so personally connected to me, magically so, as Hannah Louise Shear wrote that without having ever met me, and it touches on so many things that Denise, would say to each one of those people personally, that it was uncanny, and it was just poignant and articulate and kind, and really just it hits a lot of right notes, and a celebration. I loved, we're thinking about 1988, this is airing, and or 87, 88, and we talk about funerals now. We often have celebrations of life, as opposed to the mourning of death. We try to celebrate the life. And but back then, it wasn't very commonplace to hear that. And they are talking about, that Tasha wanted to have a celebration of life. And I thought that was a really nice touch and note. So it was a good tone. The tone was set well, and it was easy to act. It was. I did that in one take. By the time they turned the camera around on me, and I'd been doing it over and over to each one of them individually. So by the time the camera turned on me, it was, very easy to do, and to do it without, weeping, because obviously Tasha would not be weeping as she's making her hologram. So it was good.
It was perfect. It was beautiful. And we're really happy that you nailed it, because it's such a beautiful moment for all of Star Trek. I bet even Eve was like, okay, that's pretty good. But we'll find out during the free-for-all if that statement is actually true. Before we jump to the free-for-all, though, everybody, let's give a very special thanks to a few special people whose names are Homer. People are going to be like, present. Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin, Titus Muller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, the enigma known as DQ, Neil Akasaka, our pal Justine Norton-Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, live from Tokyo, probably, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Mr. Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde in her car, everybody, Jed Thompson, classic Marcia Schreier, Brandon Gant, and especially, of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason Okun. All right, everybody, stick around. The fun is just beginning. We will be right back with the free-for-all on the 7th rule. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th rule. This is the free-for-all. Of course, Denise and Cirroc are here. Malissa Longo has joined us, as has Mr. Chris McGee, the Dark Lord. We've got Jason Okun. We've got Allison Leach Hyde. Anil O. Palat is hanging out with us. Matt Boardman as well. Carrie Schwent. Faith Howell. We've got Eve England out in Wales. We have live in Tokyo. Mr. Homer Frizzell, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, and Marcia Classic Schreier. All right. So this was a lot of fun. Oh, Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Ooh, careful.
Armor.
Careful.
Well, okay, let's go with a 8. 8.
Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know?
Yeah, I was thinking it's going to be much lower because obviously Denise dies, and I'm sure everyone was just royally pissed off at that. So I'm going to say 5.
8.3.
Low
Matt
6s.
says 8.3. Jason says low 6s. Anybody else? Mochi? No?
No, I can't remember if I looked or not, so I don't know if my score will be influenced.
The answer is 6.8.
What?
6.8.
Criminal. Absolutely
probably
criminal.
pissed off, like you said.
Yeah, it's a mixed vote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People were really, over the years have been outraged about this episode, that not for per se for my death, but the way in which I died,
Mm-hmm.
they, and again, Gene's intention was to have such an evil, and a skin of evil that was so awful that there was no provocation to kill Tasha Yar. But it was so anticlimactic, I think, in its delivery, in its how it manifested, that it just was so anticlimactic.
Yeah, I wonder if people were just kind of voting where they're like, well, I thought it was beautiful at the end, but I'm mad that they killed Tasha. Where do I go with this? There weren't any non-appearance mentions today, right? Anybody? Did we catch any? I sure didn't. All right. Well, a lot of us brought some Armus to eat, everybody. So if anybody brought some Armus, feel free to pull them out.
Wow.
Oh my God. Melissa. Allison is one of us. She's got black licorice.
Yay!
Oh my gosh.
She's one of us.
Eve, what is
I
that?
love licorice.
I know.
Especially
Eve.
black.
Look what Eve actually made these, you guys. Check this out. Hang on.
Oh, wow.
Love it.
He's even sparkly.
Amazing.
Look at this. She even has the Tasha Yar cheek stain, right?
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no. Oh, that's brilliant.
That is too good.
That is great.
That's too funny. How about that cheek stain? That was really
That was, I don't get
that
it.
cheek stain.
And it was red instead of black.
Mine is a healthy choco bite in a bowl of sugar-free Hershey syrup, and it's so disgusting I can't even eat it. I'm saying.
I mean, it beats Metamucil and black printer's ink, right?
Yeah, there
Also
you
got
go.
chocolate pudding.
Ooh, yum.
And look, Melissa's going to eat mochi.
Mochi here. What do you got,
It's
Cirroc?
delicious.
I've got chocolate Armus ice cream.
You do? I need an Armus to eat. Wait a
It's
minute.
expensive. It costs you an Armus and a leg, though. So
I have
It's a
an
Vegas.
Armus. Should I come back?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right.
I followed in Cirroc, and I started off with ice cream with chocolate syrup over it. It kind of looked, when I first dipped it, it kind of looked like Armus rising up out, but then I thought that's too sweet and upbeat. So I also have some black coffee, which is as hateful as Armus is. So we're going to save that for later.
Is it bitter?
It is so bitter.
I've got some black Armus coffee too.
show us, Homer. Yum.
There it is.
There it is.
It's like a going away party.
It is evil.
So everybody knows, when this episode came out, in 1988, Armus was going for 95 cents a gallon. Now it's at $4.80.
Right.
Just for the record.
Oh,
Who
what
writes
do you
that?
guys think?
It's evil.
Sorry, Homer.
That
Sorry.
price is
Armus.
Wow.
Armus. Gonna get you, Armus.
Sweet
So
revenge.
everybody at home, for the rest of this free for all, if you've got anything, chocolatey, dark chocolatey pudding, black licorice is extra points, as everybody knows, except for most of you that are sane. Even good and plenty, so you can sugarcoat the Armus. But please go get your goodies for that if you want to partake in the fun. Melissa Longo. Oh wait, what was that, Chris?
What was that? Choco
wine. It's a chocolate flavored fortified wine.
Wow.
Hey.
Knows it.
Oh,
No way.
It's
what
good.
sort of evilness, Dark Lord?
Wow, chocolate wine?
Wow.
God,
My
man.
drink is sassy.
Ooh.
Sassy
Try
cow.
that.
Chocolate and
Sassafras.
wine, but chocolate
Sassy
wine.
cow.
Well,
Oh.
Melissa Longo, would you like to get us started now? What'd you think of this episode? Or if you like, we could talk about what we thought of the episode in the Things Left Unsaid segment. We can just, go over the final thoughts on these 22 episodes that we've enjoyed so much with Denise. Or the episode. Melissa Longo.
Okay, so much information thrown at me. No, it's been a fun ride reviewing all of these episodes and going back and watching them. It was like watching them for the first time. I feel like I've watched the first season before, but a lot of it I didn't remember. I did remember this episode and thinking, she's not dead. They can't have killed her. She's coming back to life. She's not dead. It's Star Trek. She's not dead. And I kept waiting for them to bring Tasha Yar back to life, and then the final speech. I choked up. I got teary-eyed, and I was like, no, this can't be the end. But I liked getting to know Tasha Yar again, and it was great. And she impressed me throughout this first season, and with what she was given. And Denise, you did an amazing job with her. And she will always hold a place in my heart, that's for sure.
Oh, so dear. Yeah.
Actually, Denise, you did say that you had a special thing for us. Was that something that's going to be revealed?
Well, I was trying to find my little funereal hat with the veil.
Bummer.
I'm afraid it's in a trunk somewhere that I can't get to, and so. But it might be too much anyway. You might just have an emotional breakdown if you saw. It was so weird for me watching this episode when I was in the sick bay. In that, trying to revive me was really creepy for me to watch that. Like my own dead self. I had a really visceral reaction. Like there was a moment I thought, I can't watch it. I can't watch this. Too close. It's weird. I don't know if you've ever seen yourself dead in anything you've ever shot.
A lot.
Have you, Cirroc or Ryan? Have you?
I've done it. Yeah, I've been dead in a lot. I did a lot of stunts and stuff, so I would always be. I was dead. I've had like a big gash in my head. It's kind of fun, but yet yours was an extended scene.
That was. I don't know why it just hit. It was like, oof. I don't know. This was kind of freaking me out a little bit to watch it. Like I mean, obviously Pet Cemetery, you know, I come back all bloodied and, but it's so, I'm disconnected from that, you know. This was like, oh, that's kind of what I guess I would look like, you know, dead.
Yeah, I
it was weird.
I did see, but not as my character, but as a different character. I did die in an episode. But yeah, it's not. It does have a reaction when you see it.
Yeah.
Well, somebody who's not dead, Anil Palat is here.
Alive. I
said, oh, goodness, what a relief.
Oh my God.
Welcome back. What are your thoughts? How are you today, buddy?
Good. I think two things. I think the practical effects. So if Armus was like CG or something, it wouldn't be as scary. It's just super, super creepy. I don't know. It's like, and also Armus kills Tasha, so he's even more evil. It's kind of over the top evil, but it is super creepy. And so I think they did a great job, like you said, with whoever was in there. And the scene where Riker comes out of Armus, like I almost can't watch it. It makes me mildly want to vomit every time. I don't know why. It's like the grossest thing ever. Yeah, but I did want to see more time with Tasha before she was killed off. It would have been nice to kind of spend some more time with the character and have the death be later. But it's an iconic episode, so
it is. Thanks, Anil. Hey, real quick, I found one quick shot of me when I was playing dead many years back. Trigger warning. I don't know. It's kind of gross.
Oh God. What was that from?
Saturday Night.
Yeah. I don't recall. That was one of the first ones.
From your first wife?
I think I got hit in the head with a baseball bat with that one. But anyway, Allison Leach Hyde is here, who has never been hit in the head with a baseball bat. But who knows if she was the swinger at one point. I don't know. What do you think of this one? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's like I get to like one part of the episode and dislike the other part. Because, of course, didn't want Tasha to die. But Troy did a great job in the episode. So it was nice to see her get to play to her strengths and try and counsel a truly evil being. And that was interesting to watch. And I have always enjoyed that part of the episode. So yeah, it's 50-50. I get to like some of it and I don't like other parts of it. But that's what I like about it. So, and it's very blatant what we all dislike about it. And I have to give Frakes kudos for getting in that stuff and then coming out of it. He had to have been very different colored for a while. That's a lot of ink to be in.
In his eyes. Ugh. Well, thank you, Allison. Jason Okun has a cool poster in his background again, as usual. Looks rad. How are you? What are you thinking?
Well, interesting enough, I do have conflicting feelings about this one, and I think like many others, I almost think of it as two different episodes. And I wish the first part was as imaginative or as creative as the title. Sometimes, obviously the goal was to kill the character, and it was done, as we talked about, in a very anticlimactic way. I mean, there are some circumstances when you want to do that for a story. And I think that's something that I guess was planned at some point for the death of Spock in Star Trek 2, and they was smartly moved to the end, to the climax, because it didn't work, and frankly, it doesn't work here either. So it's just, for story purposes, it doesn't quite work. And that part of the episode looks it looks almost like a stage play, and not a very good one. But I think a lot of it is sort of remedied at the very end. I think, obviously the funeral scene is absolutely beautiful, and Denise did a wonderful, wonderful job doing it. And it's just, I think it does redeem most of it in terms of the way it was done, the way the performances went. But yeah, it's something that obviously was done for the purpose of killing off the character, and frankly, as moving as the end of it was, I think had you stayed around for longer, that had it been 2 or 3 seasons, I think the payoff would have been even greater, because we haven't really been with Tasha for that long.
Yeah.
There's an emotional connection, but there would have been more of it had it been sort of way down the line.
Yeah, we talked about that in the episode earlier.
And in terms of, and I'm just curious, I mean, obviously giving that performance, you're doing the funeral scene, and in your mind, you have to come back and do another episode. I mean, how did it feel to kind of do this and then knowing you have to come back and do another week of this?
It was actually a relief, because it would have had such a finality to it, such a heavy resonance, that it was a relief to know that symbiosis was coming. And as you see, I had sort of a joy still in my spirit by the wave and the whole thing. There was a lightness that I could still carry. And I had made peace with this decision. I had been weighing this for months and months. And so by this time, though I was leaving and not knowing what, I had no job to go to. I mean, I literally was unemployed the next day. I had really made peace with my decision to leave. So that was good as well. It's one thing to quit in a huff or a rage or to be fired, but this was a long thought out process that, only I could come to the resolution of. So, I was at peace. I was at peace.
Right.
Sounds like I actually did die. I don't mean it that way, I was just, I was sure of what I was doing.
You know who else is sure of what they're doing and super peaceful is Eve England. Eve, everybody's dying to know your thoughts, because you are just like Cirroc and Denise in that you haven't seen this episode.
Well, so when I first watched this last week, I was absolutely livid. I was not happy at all, and I was so angry. I just couldn't believe that that's how they decided to kill you off, Denise. I was just, this is a disgrace. So I was quite angry for a few days, but I calmed down and thought, right, I'm going to give it another go. So I watched it yesterday and thought, right, I'm going to take that emotion out, and just rewatch it. And I did enjoy it more the second time. And I was trying to look at the sort of the Armus character, because I just absolutely hated him the first time. I just thought, this is ridiculous. He hasn't got any eyes. I just don't think he's scary. And I saw some of the some of the original concept art, which looked much more terrifying. And I thought the fact that he didn't have any facial features was just really strange, and you just didn't get that emotion. And I just didn't get that kind of. I loved his voice. I thought that was really cool. But in terms of his overall appearance, very cool. But I just didn't think it had the menace that I kind of was looking for. But when I was thinking about it, when I was thinking, actually, he's quite a pitiful character by the end. And I was thinking he's a bit more like a Frankenstein's monster kind of character. And I thought it's not his fault that he is this evil guy. He was basically created and discarded by these Titans. And that's why I kind of had the, I think he needs a hug, because I just it felt to me quite callous the way they just left him on the planet to continue his torment and to continue to be alone and wailing. And I just thought that I would have expected Starfleet to have a little bit more compassion, notwithstanding the fact that obviously he had killed, one of their friends. But I just felt that was a little bit jarring when you kind of go back and take the emotion out of it. And then I didn't really recognize the quote that Picard had mentioned, so I just looked that up and obviously found out that was Percy Shelley's Prometheus Unbound. So I'm hoping that Mai might have some more insight onto that, because I didn't really have time to explore that further. But it seemed like what they were trying to say is, he was so consumed by this, revenge and this anger that, he was always going to be a slave to that. So I thought that I would really like to have explored that a bit more and think about the, where his story came from philosophically. I thought that was really interesting. But I agree with what everyone else has said. I mean, the end scene was incredibly moving. But I just kind of felt that it almost emphasized the fact that, why didn't we have more of that relationship stuff before? Because I had in my mind then, obviously all these scenes had been happening, but we just never saw them. There just seemed to be so much depth there to all of that, each of those interactions that you had, Denise, with each of the characters and the emotion that they all had, save for Picard, which I had a bit of an issue with. But I just thought, where's this been? And I just thought it really would have been a much better season had they just added more of that character depth to it, because this almost just emphasized that was lacking all the way through, which was a bit of a shame.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also I loved the music as well for this. I thought that brought all of that together, and it was just beautiful the way they did that.
Yeah. Definitely noticed the music too. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Eve England out in Wales. Faith Howell is here. Faith, do you also get livid if an alien doesn't have eyes?
No, never had a problem with that one.
Oh God, Ryan.
So I'll save most of my critique of the episode specifically for later, but I do want to say, Denise, I first, as I've said before, saw this episode when I was probably 2 years old. So this was my first introduction, and I don't know why I'm getting weepy. Mai started it. So this was my first introduction into death, probably. And so this episode has been with me my entire life, and I'm going to be honest, I hate it. I think that as an adult looking at it, your work was beautiful, absolutely amazing. But I hated losing Tasha that I had, just met and was coming to love as a little girl and look up to. And I just was not ready for her to go. And I'm still there. When I watch it, I go back and I have that same feeling that it's too short. It's not enough time for her. And partly that speech at the end kind of makes me mad, because why did she even make that? Because she had so much time left with us that she should have had. So I understand in the grander scheme of things, writing and all that, but part of me as a human just rails against the whole situation. But I also think it's interesting that I think this, of any episode of Next Gen, this is probably the one I've seen the most, because, and maybe you guys have had the same experience when it was in syndication. Like, if you flip channels and Star Trek was on randomly, this was the episode that was on. And I know I've heard that, I think Garrett Wong, or maybe it was Will Wheaton, one of the other younger cast members, said something similar, that when they first started looking at Trek, this was the first episode, and it was the first 8 episodes they saw, because it was always on. So yeah, apparently somebody somewhere loved it. So I'm sorry that my opinion is so low. I almost would rather watch Code of Honor 100 times than this episode, because it just breaks my heart so much.
Yeah.
But
Right. You'll cry for a different reason watching Code of Honor,
Yeah.
Oh my God, Faith, I was doing so well. I was doing so well. It's very moving and touching to me.
And it's been such a blessing to get to know you through these videos and things, that it kind of brought back and healed that wound of losing Tasha so many years ago. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so very much. It's reciprocal. It's absolutely reciprocal. And I'm not going anywhere, so don't worry. You're stuck. You're stuck with me now.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh,
Well, thank
my
you,
goodness.
Faith. Denise, it's going to be a gauntlet. There's still it doesn't get any easier from here.
I know.
Everybody feels the same way, so
I
get
have
ready.
no tissue. I don't. Anyway. Yeah. Here. Thank you.
All right. So up next is Carrie Schwent, who I did see sneak in a couple of these moves while Faith was talking. So.
That's after somebody's crying.
How are you, Carrie?
No, I'm good. No, I like this. I like this one. I don't do well with funerals, so the end is hard for me. Pretty much anything I watch, funerals are hard for me. I put off soap operas for weeks when someone dies just to postpone the funeral. So I have to try to be more objective with it. And yeah, we'll talk about other stuff later. To distract myself slightly, I'm gonna switch gears slightly. And DS9 had the O'Brien Must Suffer episodes. No offense, Denise. I love you to death, but this is the first of the Deanna Troi Must Suffer episodes. Because Armus was just pounding her in that shuttlecraft pretty much the entire episode. She went through the emotional ringer in that episode. And you heard Tasha's death definitely did not help things because she felt that death, so she felt it for her, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
The end is very nice, and I did a little bit of looking, and I know you said there are things about recording occasionally that you have forgotten. So I think you forgot that you recorded some poetry that got left on the cutting room floor, but I found it, and I'm going to read it to you and see if it sparks any memories. So let me know.
Ooh.
So here we go.
Cool.
Do not be sad because I have died. I did my duty and served with great pride. You have all been my friends, but this is not the end. I'll see you again on the other side. Just sort of came to me the other day when I was at work listening to a podcast talking about this episode, and the wheels just started turning, and out it came.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's been having so much fun having you there and getting to hang with you a little bit on the cruise recently. You squealed when you saw me, and that just brought me so much joy.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No goodbyes, just good memories.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Carrie. Speaking of good memories, Matt Boardman has never forgotten anything ever. What's up, Matt?
I wish. Hey, dang it.
Your thoughts today? How are you?
Good. So this episode was my first Next Generation episode.
Oh God.
I was what was I? I was 8 years old, and we were at my grandparents, and my dad, his youngest brother, he and I are closest in age, and we were in his room, and he, sitting there with the rabbit ears television, and this was the episode that was playing. And so I just thought it was cool at 8 years old. I didn't understand the implications of it, and just thought, oh, this is a cool show. And so, that was the beginning of my Next Generation journey. And now as an adult, and as I throughout the years watching it, it obviously has a lot more significant impact on me. And we finally get an episode that we get to see Tasha at her best. They finally figured out how to write for you, Denise, rather than pushing you off in the corner. And like you said, how cool would it have been to see that tournament? Or what if we even started on that tournament, and you see in the course of it, you see Worf and Tasha have that exchange where he's like, well, I bet heavily on you. you know, and you know, something like, you know, the Valley Tournament from Karate Kid or something like that in the holodeck. But you know, and there's more that, you know, I'll say for the free for all, but just to kind of echo what Carrie and Faith said, you know, this has been such a cool experience to be able to do this with you, Denise. Like, it's a very interesting thing to go from growing up watching somebody on television and seeing their face, and, you know, and in a way we develop our own relationship with that person, even though that person has no idea who we are. And but to be able to come onto the other side of the screen and get to interact with you and see the wonderful person that you are, and who gives of your time to sit here with us and talk about the show that you did so many years ago, and to share your experiences, that's just amazing to me. And I thank you for that, because this really, I mean, there are moments in life that we celebrate and add to it, and this, you know, participating in the Seventh Rule and being able to do these with you has been one of those things that's just added so much to my life. So thank you.
Oh my God.
Well, people listening in,
I'm never gonna get
the people that
through
are only audio, don't worry, we're
Oh my
still
God.
here. We're just pausing a second to take all that in.
Yeah, geez, Louise. I seriously have to get some tissue, I think. I'll never get through this. Can you pause for 1 sec?
Yep.
All right.
Quick, everybody, take a bite of Armus.
Yes. Armus party.
You don't have to tell me twice.
You open up
Thomas stole my
chocolate pudding.
Armus.
This is intermission. There was a shouldn't say this while we're recording, but there was a writer-producer once that wanted to write in the script an intermission, which was just kind of an intermission for a movie. So then you try to picture it in a movie theater. I don't know. It just seems a little peculiar to me. But that's what we're doing right now.
There once was a lady from Venus. Wait.
Oh, no.
I think there's an intermission in Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet.
Well, he's a freaking
Intermission.
Shakespeare genius, that guy. He's amazing.
Intermission when in
right.
Gone with the Wind.
Look at this
He can
baby.
do it a lot.
Here we
There it is.
Oh, there you
There we
go.
go.
Here we go.
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
Somebody
you
should make a
guys.
robot.
Whoa. All right.
I want
We'll
Worf
try
to
to
be
see.
eating some of this chocolate pudding and say, "Good Armus, nice house." Well, Chris McGee, you're up next. How are you? Your thoughts?
Well, how do I follow up what Matt just said? Holy cow. So I'm not even going to try. Let's just say that I echo the sentiments that everyone has said here 10 times over. It's just been an incredible journey so far. I don't want to dwell too much on it. I can't possibly say anything that hasn't already been said anymore eloquently. I didn't even actually take that many notes while watching this episode last night. I had a little trouble seeing the laptop because I had something in my eye. But I will mention a couple other things that, you know, setting aside all the obvious stuff of the episode, I thought it was fairly interesting that during the scene when Worf gets promoted to be the security chief, and of course Riker kind of asks him if he's going to be coming along on the away team, he gives a very un-Worf-like yet insightful response about the goal being the safe return of Troy instead of engaging Armus in battle. And I thought that was incredibly insightful for that character, especially since engaging Armus in battle, that's just giving him exactly what he wants. So I thought that was unusually and pleasantly insightful for him. Also, as has been mentioned already, the music is fantastic. Once again, Ron Jones knocks it out of the park. Really helped to heighten the tension in this episode, especially, in my opinion, when Riker was being enveloped by Armus, which I remember that scene in particular disturbed me greatly as a teenager. And even rewatching it last night, that was It brought back some memories. Now, before I go to my memorable quote of the episode, I do have to ask real quickly, Denise, have you happened to already mention, I'm going to be intentionally vague here, happened to already mention a particular scene that was never filmed, or maybe it was on the cutting room floor, that you had said that was like a callback to a previous episode?
Oh, yes. So in the final monologue, while addressing Data, after I finish, I say, and Data, it did happen. That's from, I asked if I could say that, to add that, and was told no by Rick Berman, but I did it anyway. And unfortunately, they cut it. They wouldn't. They didn't include it. But I thought it was such a, a full circle for what we had done, and it also is sort of, it redeems the integrity of their relationship, because I always struggled with that choice to have Tasha in denial, to disown what had happened, out of whatever her embarrassment of being intoxicated on that planet and out of control and being sexual. And, it would have been nice for her to just own it, it's okay. It happened. But it was always so strange to me that Tasha would say, and Data, it never happened, such a odd, thing to do. So I really wanted to tie that up and clear that up and walk away going, no, it happened. And I'm okay with that. But they wouldn't include it.
Would have been great. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So instead of that one, since it never actually made it to film, I'll just go with my second. There were so many good quotes in here, especially during that ending monologue. But I'll just go with one to make it a little bit lighter of this. When Picard asks Riker during the first away mission, said, "What are you seeing?" And of course, Riker answers with trouble, which coincidentally is exactly the word that Ryan uses to describe me.
There you go.
You've been reading my texts.
I like that too.
All right, great stuff. Thank you, Dark Lord. Mai is live in Tokyo, not dark at all. Like you're like the light version of it all, right? You bring us light and joy. What's up, Mai? Welcome.
This is uniform color here.
I love that, Mai. Oh my goodness.
With black text for I tried to get the colors in, and I said, screw it, we need some hearts on there because we do love you.
Perfect.
So like in 1988, I was in my mid-20s, and I was in a few years into my sojourn overseas. I was in London at the time. My sojourn is now in its 39th year. We'll see how long it goes. I'm not coming back anytime soon. And I watched the episode, and I didn't think much of it, but I tucked it away somewhere. I remember that. And then 35 years later, I was faced with a situation where I had to deal with these topics, death. My mom died last year, and that shook the hell out of me. And I remember a couple days after, we're preparing for this service or celebration of life or whatever, and they said, does anybody from the family want to say anything? And my dad was a wreck. He's like, no, I can't. My brother's like disinterested. And I thought, yeah, I've got something to say. I've got some words. And so I read a poem by a couple of rabbis. It's called We Remember Them. And then I followed on with some of my own speaking that came from my heart because it had been there for a long time. And so if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to play a short audio clip of me reading that last stanza of that poem and then saying those last few words. Ryan, can you cue that up for me?
Yeah, just give me a second here. So sorry, because I was so excited to pull up that picture of dead Ryan that let me pull this back up in a second here. Now, this is something we've never done before, so hopefully this will work to bring in the audio here. Let me test it and see. First of all, let me just see if you hear this. 1 second.
So long as we live.
Yes.
They too.
Okay, so I'm going to play it again, but I'm going to aim my mic at it, and hopefully that'll work.
Shall live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. I think this is particularly poignant because I think death is that state in which people exist in our memories and our hearts. There are no goodbyes because they exist in our memories and our hearts. So I would urge each of you to continue to think of my mother, to remember her, to think of the conversations you've had. I will, my children will, their children will, and in so doing, there are no goodbyes.
So the words were there. You gave them to me. I know the writers gave them to you, but you read them the same way a great pianist plays Chopin or Beethoven. And I got to say that it has been obviously an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you during these last several episodes. And until we meet face to face, which will probably happen next year, I hope, when I come to LA, and we imbibe appropriately for somebody from our age, who grew up in the 60s and 70s, and we did it right. We started it all. And more than that, though, because of those words, because of the comfort that I received from those words and that I've kept with me all my life, it's been a true joy being with you here. And thank you so much. Love you.
I love you. I love you back. We'll get there. I can't wait to see you here.
Yeah, I can't wait till everybody starts getting to be able to meet in person.
Yeah.
Sometimes in bunches, sometimes in scattered moments. It's going to be amazing. Especially when Homer Frizzell finally shows up at Star Trek Las Vegas and sees you at your table, and you throw the table and all the fans out of the way, and you run to that slow motion running song by Vangelis. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, Homer and Carrie saw me on the ship, and that's what happened.
What do you got for us, Homer?
I think
you're on mute.
Oh, blast.
There we go.
We can't quite hear him yet, but we will in a moment. So, Homer, we'll come back to you. Wait, can we hear you now? No, still cannot. So we'll come back to you in just a moment while you work that out. And we will hop over to Susan V. Gruner, who will also be at that fateful convention, I'm sure. What are you thinking today, Sue?
Denise, I just want to thank you for your the time that you spent with us. I had completely forgotten about this episode, and I'm jet lagged out. I'm sleep deprived, and I watched it, and I remember I was in my 30s when this came out, my early 30s. I was born in 56, and I remember being angry. I was really angry. I thought one of the best characters gets killed off, a strong female character, just when the crew is starting to gel and we're getting to know the characters. And I was really, really angry. And I watched it a couple days ago. I think I watched it the day I got home Tuesday from Greece. And I think I watched it Wednesday. I didn't know today's Friday. Yeah, okay. You did such a fabulous job at the end. Your acting blew me away. Your being here blows me away. I think that they made a huge mistake in letting you go. And I did not like this episode because you left and you
were such a strong part of that crew. And I guess that's all I have to say for now, but thank you so much for being here. It's just been unreal.
It has been such.
I'm so sorry that you felt you had to leave that show.
Yeah, but the thing is that how I came back and the other character is it's so interesting to see where this goes. We might all have the last laugh with all of this, it's almost as if Tasha becomes almost more iconic in a way, having been there that for only first season. And yes, it was absolutely a missed opportunity, especially seeing it, this time around after this distance, and seeing how much. And when Cirroc and Ryan and I talk in our episodes, we
talk about you guys, by the way, everybody.
What they could have done and what they should have done, and it's just but it is what it is, and it's. I believe that life is exactly there for us for a reason. It's maybe Sela had to be born, and let's see what happens with her. She's still going strong.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Sue. God, we love Sue. Marcia Classic Schreier is here as well. What's up, Marcia? So good to see you. Your thoughts today?
Well, I'm fairly new to this group, at least online, and this last month has been so. I'm getting choked up. So wonderful having you participate in these discussions, Denise. It gives an insight that none of us have, and it's just been so wonderful to hear what you've had to say about being in these episodes. So I want to thank you sincerely for taking the time to be part of that. Great. And I have officiated at too many funerals myself. And the way you got through that monologue in one take, that was one of my questions. I can't believe it. That kudos to you. That was just amazing. It was so heartfelt. You could feel it through the TV screen. It was so heartfelt. So I really appreciated that. I remember in 1981, 82, when they were filming Wrath of Khan, and there were rumors that Spock was going to die. And I wonder if there were any rumors floating around, because we didn't really have the internet as we do now. If people knew that you were going to be killed off in this episode. Before you answer that, I just wanted to say one other thing. The best part about this episode is that it lays the groundwork, what you were saying a little earlier, it lays the groundwork for yesterday's Enterprise, which is my favorite TNG episode of all time. And so that's the only good thing that I could find in this.
I completely agree with you, by the way. Even when I was shooting yesterday's Enterprise, I made the statement, like, I had to die to get the best episode. It's just the irony of it all. There were some rumors. I remember that they were trying, however it reared its head. I don't know. Obviously, we didn't even have, I don't even think we had cell phones, sort of thing. I mean, it was pretty, right? 1987.
The rich people
maybe car phones.
Car phones.
You had those big, giant. Like I did a movie called Miracle Mile right before, and my character pulls out one of those, phones that big and that thick, in the show. But we didn't have them on set. So there was some stirring, and they were trying to really keep it under wraps. Obviously they wanted it to be a shock. And I think for the most part, it was a shock. I've met so many people over the years. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. So, I mean, I've had everything from people stopped watching the show from that point on. They threw stuff at the television, they were screamed, and their parents came running in like, my God, what is going on here? All kinds of strange stuff. But they for the most part kept it pretty tight. What were you asking? You were asking me something else about I think a rumor, if rumors were going on.
Well, because it was such a big story with Wrath of Khan and Leonard and Spock being killed off.
Yeah.
And because the show was so new, it was only the first season.
I remember Gene sitting down with me. I had gone through the levels of, trying to talk to writers, trying to talk to the other actors, trying to talk to the exec producers, going, where is this going? Where is this going? What's going to happen here? And finally, Gene, the final step, he sits me down and he said, look, I don't want you to leave, but I understand your frustration, and I can't tell you it's going to get any better. It's not going to change. This is what it's going to be. I will let you go because I don't want to keep you here if you don't want to be here. And he is the only one that had the power to do that. And when he said, but I want to kill off the character. I'm going to kill the character. And he goes, the good thing about that is nobody will expect me to do that because we don't do that. Right. The bad thing is we can't have you back. So what the irony is that, of course, I did come back and, in like the best episode. So it's just a funny way things work out.
Wonderful. Great question, Marcia. All right, Homer, we're ready for you. If you're ready for us, where'd you go? He just disappeared again.
I think there you are. Am I back?
Yeah.
Hi.
Shy.
Hi there. So I am in Indiana, and earlier today we went to Cincinnati to get an audio system. And we used my phone, and so I was on safe driving mode, so my apologies for that. So a celebration of life. Yeah, I absolutely agree. We went to a funeral a couple of weeks ago, and it was a celebration of the life of a young woman who died at 21. And her request was that people wear bright colors. And it was so nice. And it was a wonderful celebration. So I like the way that they did that at the end of this episode. And as I said earlier, well, I didn't say this. I'm going to say something else. I think that if there's a bunch of folks, let's call them the Titans, and they can take their evil and put it somewhere and create this creature, and then maybe that creature and those Titans could reconcile and undo the wrongs that that creature does, Tasha Yar could come back because they have that power. In the meantime, screw Armus.
Oh my God. You are, I love it. Oh, that's just great. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how sci-fi works. This guy gets it.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It's there. It can be done.
Well, Cirroc and Denise, any final thoughts here?
Oh.
I love the makeup job that was done when you were on that final hospital bed scene. That bruise on your cheek. I actually went online and ordered one for myself. Does it look accurate, guys? Does it look good? I didn't remove the sticker part, but
it was very 60s.
Pull it up.
Very
pull it up
60s.
against Cirroc.
Yeah, does it look accurate?
Oh yeah, straight up.
I was like, what is that? What kind of bruise is that? Westmore, you're making aliens and lizard people, and then like that looked like that needed an upgrade for me.
That was a 60s decal that Westmore had left over in his makeup drawer.
Yeah,
at least Eve's was edible.
Right? No, right?
I couldn't. I was like, what is that? That is so. They got to upgrade that one. But you said some line in this episode that I really liked. You mentioned about how you could be feminine without, losing anything. And that's one of the things that I really take away from Tasha's character is this strong femininity that I really think that you're on the cusp of bringing in this time frame. And I started to see flashes of characters that we ended up seeing later on Deep Space Nine, based on some of the characteristics you embody in this show. I feel like Kira's character has a lot of the strength that you have in getting in this show. I feel like when I saw that look that was exchanged between you and Worf in this episode, it seemed as though there was a chemistry there that could have possibly been explored. And that same chemistry reminded me of the Dax and Worf chemistry that was later expanded upon on Deep Space Nine. So I think in a lot of ways, Tasha's character is, the prototype for the kinds of strong women that we're going to end up seeing later on down the line. And that's why I really regret having lost you so early without fully fleshing out and developing this amazing person that we see in front of us who overcame so much and has so much to offer. I could almost imagine seeing you in a holodeck fighting Worf, the same as that we saw Dax doing later on in Deep Space Nine. So, all of these things are kind of alluded to in this episode, and it's really the foundation for the kind of strong female characters that they're really going to start introducing later on. And thanks to you, we have those characters. You really did a great job of introducing those kinds of that idea, and they kept building on it until we had a Kate Mulgrew, doing Janeway, until they kept making it bigger and bigger. So I want to give you kudos for just sparking that that imagery that became contagious later on in Star Trek, and what makes Star Trek so special, because we see the full spectrum of people, this beautiful variety of people outside of the boxes of stereotypes that we're used to. And I love the way that you portrayed Tasha Yar, Denise. I think you did a fantastic job. And my only regret is that there wasn't somebody with some cooler heads and some better reasoning to say, hey, look, I know you want to leave, but this looks so good on camera. We're finally hitting a stride on writing well for your character. Would you consider, something else? And can we talk about it more? So I think they missed a huge opportunity there. I know that you come back later on, and I can't wait to see when you come back and in those episodes, how, you impact in those episodes. But this Tasha Yar character is just been really special to watch, and I really thank you, Denise, for giving the world this character.
Thank you guys for allowing me to fall back in love with Tasha Yar. I always loved playing her, and I looked so forward to this storyline and the possibilities of it and the complexities of who she was. And it was, a little piece of me died with her, with that character, because she really spoke to me, and I hold her very close in my heart. And she will forever be there. And I haven't, had a chance to really go back and, like I've said, watch these episodes. So this was the gate opened for me, and you guys allowed me to come in here with you so that I could see her, visit her again. And I am so grateful for that, because what a wonderful character. And I love her. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful for having been given the chance to play her, and the life that has opened up for me, and continues to through Star Trek. It's been an extraordinary ride, but really the key for me has really been the ability to go back and watch these shows, and in a way that I've been able to share with you, talk to you about, kind of remember. I mean, so much of it I didn't remember. There are whole episodes, I'm sure you're watching, and Ryan and Cirroc are going, do you have any recollection of shooting this? I go, absolutely not, zero. So, it's like, wow, that's amazing to see and to laugh and be delighted by, and see that part of my life, to kind of relive that part of my life. So that has been just I don't know. It's hard to articulate it. It's just so unique. This whole experience has been. I think about, too, the boldness that Gene saw by casting me. I didn't cut my hair off to play Tasha Yar. I had short hair, and in 1988, this was not common, and especially for actresses. I when I cut my hair off, it was like, oh God, well, you're not going to work. Nobody, guys, most people in the position of hiring were men. And, it's changed a little bit, but the majority still are men. But they don't like, I was always told they don't like women with short hair. They don't like short-haired women.
Remember back then, 88 or 86, 87, it was not just not short hair, it was gigantic hair.
Lip gloss, big hair in the 80s. And I said, well, I don't know. I like it. I identify with it. It's who I am. And Gene saw that. Gene said, this is what I I want this look. And I cannot tell you how many women I have met now who were little girls back then, like some of you here, and said, oh my God, you gave us permission to look like that. You know, we could still be what we wanted to be. We didn't have to be what they wanted us to be. And that is one of the greatest takeaways coming for me out of all of this. And you're certainly not in the moment, was I aware of that? But now, obviously, 35 years out, to stand back and go, God, this is huge. This is huge. So all of you are a part of it. You guys are all friends to me now. This has been just much more fun, Ryan and Cirroc, than I ever anticipated it to be. These guys scrambling after me in Las Vegas, Ryan chasing me down the hall, trying to get my attention to come on a podcast with them and do, it's called the 7th rule and blah, blah.
And you're like,
what?
Okay, yeah, I'll get on that,
guy.
bro.
What, security, like, who is this guy, Ryan? Oh, Cirroc. Okay, maybe that's okay then. But I am so grateful to the two of you, not only to be your friend, but your colleague, and that you thought of me to invite me along for this ride. And to be continued.
Mm-hmm.
To be continued.
Well, thank you, Denise. And also, before we talk about how much we love you, because it's a huge amount, when you were talking a few minutes ago, I was thinking about how when we first had a meeting with you to discuss it over Zoom, and Cirroc was telling you, it is so fun and interesting and enlightening to see yourself now, decades later, watching. And so it's so cool that, what he said actually ended up ringing true. And you get this new perspective. Some things are better. Some things are interesting. You kind of learn a little bit about yourself or the history in some way, it seems. Was there anything that you saw that you kind of stopped and were like, damn, that was pretty good there? Was there ever a moment that you actually didn't remember and you're like, wow, great job, Denise?
Well, it was, I think it was just an overall embrace of reconnecting with Tasha Yar. Again, I haven't seen these episodes since they first aired. They first were on the air. And, it's interesting because, we've said this before, I don't know if I'll ever see them again. Who knows what the future brings, but unless I'm doing some total retrospective, I'm being honored at in Rome, or a statue is being erected of, Tasha Yar in front of, somewhere, who knows? But so for me, it's really been about remembering, reconnecting with the character, because my experience of Tasha Yar in the last 35 years has been through your eyes. Mm-hmm. Has been through the fans' appreciation of the character, and it's almost important. It's wonderful that I saw all these episodes, because now when I go back to Vegas or cons or the cruise ship, and people go, God, I loved Tasha Yar, or I watched, I go, yeah, I get it. I get it like more immediately, the experience. Now, and I don't know that, that would have happened otherwise. I would have continued to go, oh yeah, Tasha Yar, yeah, I played her a long time ago. That's lovely. that you like her and she meant something to you, but this is like connected me again. It's connected me to the show. It's connected me to her. It's connected me to this. It's not so abstract as it has been, and how it could continue. It'd be very fine. You're in the, you're conditioned, you played her and you have some memories of it. And, there's certain things that stand out, but this really brings it home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I do. I feel the same way. In the beginning, I was hesitant. I was like, oh, Aaron, I don't know if we want to do this. And I don't know if I want to watch this show. And then I started to get so much out of it, beyond what I could put into words. But just having that reconnection with it, reliving those things. It just, I don't know. It's like I'm looking at it from different eyes, almost like I'm the viewer now, as opposed to having been participating in it. And it's
absolutely
a weird
right. And
contrast.
And I can say these things now that I couldn't possibly have said. I couldn't possibly have said, oh gosh, what a great character that was. I can own that now, and feel okay about that with some perspective and distance and ownership of it. And I feel proud. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's not about arrogance. It's not about egoism. It's like, wow, that was something. I like that I did that. I really like that I did that role. Who the hell, you can't say that. You won't allow yourself generally to say that. You're too close. It takes this kind of distance. It takes this kind of objectivity to be able to then go, you know what? Yeah, I'm glad I did this.
Yeah.
We're glad you did it too, Denise.
We're glad you did it too.
As we close this out, can we just say thank you so much for joining us? Thank you so much for saying, you know what? Fuck it. Just saying, see what happens.
It's been sort of my motto.
It's that way, yeah. And you came at it with eyes wide open. It was really cool that you didn't come with with arms crossed figuratively or anything like that. You just showed up and said, all right, let's have some fun for a few months. Let's see what happens. And you certainly brightened our days. You brightened our podcast. You gave us all some perspectives. And you just made everything better in every way. And so we really appreciate what you did in joining us. We're really excited that you're going to be part of the roundtables as well. So that way, we still get to see you plenty. And we're going to be doing actually a seventh rule panel in a couple months, in just a little while, at Star Trek Las Vegas. So that's going to be tons of fun. So that's something to look forward to.
Rather be with you guys than those other.
Oh my God, we're still recording, right? Yes. All right.
Don't tell them. Don't tell them I said that. Especially who.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Brent. Anyway, but thank you so much, Denise. And Carrie sent something in that'll be the perfect closeout, but thank you to Melissa, Eve, Jason, Allison, Anil, Chris, Matt, Carrie, Faith, Homer, Mai, Sue, and Marcia. Also Muhammad, because he jumped in for just a moment. He had a lot of work to do, but he wanted to say goodbye. Yeah. Oh, also, almost forgot this. Very quickly, our good friend Tierney C. Diekman also sent in a few notes. Let me read those off very quickly. She says, Futurama's Star Trek episode where no fan has gone before, though not directly referencing Skin of Evil and involving the original series cast, had a better grasp of how Armus came off with its parody creature, Melvar. I recommend anyone to watch the episode. Interesting. She also says, regardless of how many ridiculous things can be found in Skin of Evil, from a Shakespearean actor talking to an oil slick of Metamucil, to poor Jonathan Frakes being birthed from the same ooze, and Engineer of the Week Lynch just going on an unprotected walkabout with the same crystals that Spock gave his life for in the same open space irradiated scenario. The writing gets an important thing to me very right. Death. Third, she says, in real life, death is most often sudden. It feels cruel and meaningless to us, the outsiders. As viewers, we expect the magical reversal when it's down with such triviality. At least we're used to the dramatization, the big battle, the drawn-out deathbed, and the long goodbye when faced with the death of a beloved character, or even a semi-established character. The more legitimately realistic, sudden erasure of life is reserved for those who aren't presented to us as people, those without souls and tangential connections, drones and NPCs, primed for death for plot's sake, or worse, death for entertainment, or just because they don't matter enough. Insert vague political commentary here about how this is the far right sees everyone who isn't them. JK, LOL, but not really joking. Is it? Maybe delete that. Oops, maybe I should have deleted that. That's what it said. Regardless, in spite of how jarring, how quick, and I mean literally quick, seriously 15 minutes in the episode, there's a lot that could be read into how Yar's character was killed, especially with how we lose other strong female characters throughout Star Trek. It was a realistic death, unjust, empty, undeserved, and still, even now, just like in real life, we grieve. So that was from Tierney C. Diekman. Thank you for sending that in, Tierney. Anyway, to close it out, thank you all so much for joining us. Denise, looking forward to all the next adventures we're going to be getting on together, and thank you so much for playing with us. It's been so much fun. We really, truly appreciate you and love you more than anything. And we will close out with, it looks to me like Star Trek Cruise and the Enterprise Band. If anybody hasn't checked out the Enterprise Blues Band, please do. Let's see if this works to close us out. Always remember the seventh rule.
We'll dance. Yeah.